I mean, what's required by law.
All the,
I know who's.
all of the.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody ready? 7 o'clock,
Fine, ready,
7:01. You did all your homework, student?
as best I could.
I did.
That sounds like
Finally,
a
been a
D.
rough
that's my life. I did my homework on time.
Yes, you're ready then.
We're ready.
Okay, we have a new agenda. So 7:01, we'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flags right over your shoulders.
2 flags, yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Dabrowski.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. O'Grady. Here. Mr. Bongiovanni.
Here.
Mr. Bryan.
Here.
Ms. Corradolo.
Here.
Mr. Galena.
Here. Okay.
All right. We have an updated agenda at your seats. If you would replace the old one. The revision to the agenda is we wanted to make sure it was noted on the agenda that we have student recognition tonight for Rockstar track athletes. I won't say any more. I'm going to let you have your moment in just a second. And then you have an updated personnel report at your seats that reflects an additional letter of resignation we received after you got your packets. Other than that, there's no substantive changes.
And yeah, just one other little tweak to that. I'm just double checking on the first reading of policies. I think it's chapter 7, policy 285, not 255.
Yep. So
Right.
first read should be 7250, 7285, 7290, 7340, and I think that one's it.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So looking for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Make a motion.
Motion by Ken,
I'll second.
second by Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, none. Motion passes. Next, playing a little catch-up work from the last meeting. So let me get that in front of me. Be looking for an approval of the April 18th minutes. I know I was not there.
Right.
I'll make a motion.
That was Ken.
Ken?
Sorry.
Motion by Ken,
I'll second.
second by Roger.
So
I guess I'm gonna do a roll call just
Uh-huh.
to make it
Yeah.
easier for recording.
If I were present, should I vote?
Abstain.
you're gonna abstain.
Yeah, so go ahead and do a roll call. if you don't mind.
Mr. Bryan.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Dabrowski.
Abstain.
Mrs. O'Grady. Here. Yes. Mr. Bongiovanni.
Abstain.
Mrs. Corradolo.
Abstain?
Mr. Galena.
Abstain.
No, Danny, you were there.
Oh, for April?
Yes.
April, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we need you on that one.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. So same thing, we got the closed session minutes from April 18th, 2023. You're looking for a motion to approve those as submitted.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Danny, second by Jen. Please pull the board.
Mr. Galena.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady. Yes. Mr. Bongiovanni.
Abstain.
Mr. Bryan.
Yes.
Ms. Corradolo.
Abstain.
Mr. Dabrowski.
Abstain.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
Okay, motion passes.
Now you got me.
Yep, looking for the approval of the regular Board of Education minutes for May 9th, 2023. Let's do a roll call, so Danny gets it right.
Yeah.
Purple.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion by Ken,
I'll second.
Second by Roger. Please poll the board.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady? Yes. Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Bottle?
Yes.
Mr. Galina?
Now I say.
Yes.
Mr. Dabrowski?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Next, we're looking for an approval of the closed session minutes for May 9th, 2023.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Roger,
I'll second.
second by Ken. All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? One, Dan's raising his hand.
Just in case you didn't know. Wow.
Okay, motion passes. We are all ready to correspondence and audience comments. Do we have any correspondence?
We do.
Go ahead.
All right. Dear Board of Education, I wanted to write this and publicly address the recent support I've been given by Stanton staff, Stanton administrators, Jeff Sesnick, Rochelle Peters, and other colleagues from Lotus, Maddie Mercado, and Superintendent Heather Frizzell. Within the last 3 weeks, my mom has been diagnosed with breast cancer. I have had to request multiple days off unexpectedly. Throughout all of this, I've been met with time and time again with texts, phone calls, emails of support and encouragement. Heather has personally checked in on me. Maddie has promptly given me the necessary paperwork for intermittent FMLA should I need it. Others have been there for me at a time where I'm not even sure what I myself need. At the end of the day, a school's primary purpose is educating students, yet teachers and staff are the backbone of the institution. If they are met with love, support, and encouragement, the institution will thrive, and that love, support, and encouragement will spill over onto its students. I genuinely feel that D114 is a very special place to work. I felt it important to share this with you simply because the support has been more than once moved me to tears. I've never worked at a place like D114. It has meant a lot to me and my family. Too often things like this go unnoticed and are not addressed. I simply want to highlight the special people you have at D114. For many of us, it's a secondary family. Please take a minute and give a special shout out to the amazing staff and support system in front of you tonight. Sincerely, Stephanie K.
Thanks, Jen.
Very nice.
And from Northern Illinois Hospice for our donation in honor of Kathleen Nichols' brother-in-law. Dear Heather, Northern Illinois Hospice thanks you for your contribution in memory of Murph Ross. This gift is a wonderful tribute and will benefit the many patients we are currently serving. Since 1979, Northern Illinois Hospice has cared for thousands of people in Boone, Winnebago, Stevenson, Ogle, McHenry, and DeKalb counties. We have enabled our patients to make choices regarding their care, and we have ensured their comfort during difficult times. Our bereavement services offer support for families and friends and community members as well. On behalf of the Foundation Board of Directors, volunteers, staff, and especially the families we serve, thank you for your memorial gift. Sincerely, Susan London, Director of Northern Illinois Hospice Foundation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Audience comments.
Anybody?
We have Maureen online.
Devos, you got anything to say?
No, I'm good.
I thought we had you muted. Okay, she's good. All right. Board comments? Nope. All right, moving along.
All right, Mrs. Peters, anybody you want to introduce us to tonight?
It gives me great pleasure to recognize one of our coaches tonight who's here to talk about Aurora, Charles, and Riley, who actually were in the track state meet, but I will let Laura talk more about that. But our track coaches this year were David Rote, Laura, Onar Medrano, and Brian Bailey, and they put in 90+ hours of work just with practices and meets and getting our athletes prepared. And these athletes just stepped it up academically as well as on the track and field. So Laura Livesay.
Woo-hoo!
Actually, you should be standing, right? So Aurora is a 6th grader, new to track, right? This year. I'm reading from my phone because her accolades are far and I don't want to ruin or miss any. So she placed second at the Ross Cans and you won every meet thereafter despite being off her 2-week injury, which is fabulous. She came first in the Mustang Invite, Johnsburg, and Class 3A sectional. And she also set a personal record and a state qualifying jump of 4 feet 6 inches. And she showed up to every morning practice we had, and she's only a 6th grader.
Yeah.
So her specialty is high jump? Any other long jump or anything?
What's your favorite? I only went to state for high jump.
And what other events do you?
I did the 4x1, 4x2 hurdles.
She
Nice.
tried,
Better to
she
ask
had,
what she
yeah,
didn't
she
do.
tried it,
Yeah.
she drilled into
Awesome.
everything, so, yeah, kudos, very happy.
Is track your number one, is that your favorite sport, or what's your softball?
What position?
I will say that, I will say that there isn't a sport that doesn't benefit from people being fast.
Yeah, right.
It's good for every sport,
And being a great person.
and being a great person.
Yeah,
And
right.
it
She
helps your
just
grade.
happens to be.
Awesome.
And love this one. Right?
Should I talk about Riley? And
Yeah,
Charlie,
please.
even though- Okay. Riley's also a 6th grader. Her specialty was long jump. She was top 20 in the state at 6th grade for the 6th grade level. She came in first at the Mustang Invite, the Johnsburg, and Class 3A sectionals. She also set personal records and state qualifying jump of 14 feet 5 inches. She showed up to every morning practice, and she's also a 6th grader, and she made several appearances for the 8th grade. So she also ran the 4x2 with a bunch of 8th graders. So that's Riley Dunleavy. And then Charles Schlitt is our 8th grade boy. His specialty was high jump and back-to-back state qualifier in the high jump. He was 2nd place finisher in several events throughout the season, including sectionals, in which he nearly qualified for the 100-meter in addition to the high jump. He state qualifying jump of 5.6. He showed up to every morning practice, shows dedication as he went back and forth between basketball and track all season long. And that's Charles Schlitt, an 8th grader.
Well, usually what we do is take a break in the meeting so that anybody can take pictures if they want to, Lady Aurora. We're so glad you're here. So why don't we do that? There's some cookies over there if anybody needs a snack, water bottles in the cooler. Let's take a couple minutes and you take pictures with whoever you want, sweet thing, okay? Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you.
She's awesome.
That's my boy. The high jump, side high jump. He was 5'6" in 8th grade.
Uh-huh.
I only did 6 inches higher by the time I got to be a senior, so.
Well, I remember he was one of the kids on the regional basketball team too.
Yeah.
It's just a solid athlete.
Yeah, he's gonna beat 6'.
He will, yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome. I don't know how I did it. I jumped over myself basically. I'm like,
Yeah, I jumped over
I
myself.
can't fathom the thought of that anymore.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah,
That, like, look, when you really think about it,
right, my whole body,
Yeah.
over my head,
yeah.
I think my highest was 6'1".
yeah. Really? Wow, yeah, that's fantastic.
Like 38.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, weekend now, so.
Okay, DeVos, behave yourself. We're gonna start again.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you download that, okay.
I'm ready.
All right, you got the approval, keep moving.
Yep.
Next, we have, next on the agenda is the consent agenda, which represents accounts payable and the treasurer's report for May. One kind of highlight here that when I was looking at the treasurer's report and these invoices that we'll be approving tonight, is, so in the education fund, we pay for tuition.
Yep.
And we were already over budget, but we're approving another $141,000 of tuition tonight.
Yep.
So that's gonna put that single line item over budget by $400,000 this
Yep.
year in the ed fund. So what we have budgeted, which the budget was a surplus of revenues in excess of expenses, that's not gonna happen. Same thing in the transportation fund under purchase services. To get kids where they need to go, we're gonna be approving $117,000 tonight, and which will put us $256,000 over budget for transportation. That fund initially had shown a budgeted profit or revenues in excess of expenses of 131, so that's not gonna play out that way this year either.
Correct.
We still get some of that back from the state
Next year,
next year.
you get the reimbursement. Mary, what's the reimbursement rate?
About 75%,
Thank you.
and it's in the rear, so we'll get it next year for this year.
Right. So I guess just as for assistance for the board members too, some of the newer ones. So the district, our books are kept on a cash basis of accounting. So, and our year end is June 30th. So our year end is coming up. And so these bills that we are approving tonight will make it on our books because Mary will pay them before the end of the year. So this will effectively, this check run will close out our books for the operating expenses. We'll still have some payroll expenses that will be paid, but and maybe a bond payment or something right at the end of the year. So other than that, our books will be closing up and
23 will be closed out.
yeah, June 30th.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Now, will we be in the negative on them?
I noticed the property tax portion of the education fund is at 57%. Is that because we're expecting money or it
Yes.
came in?
yeah, so as real estate taxes are due this year was June 3rd and September 5th or 6th, probably, or the 3rd. So, yeah, we get some early because the banks, when people have when you have your mortgage and you pay into escrow, the banks will forward those real estate taxes before that due date. But then a lot of more money comes in closer to that due date. So we've probably seen some distributions, I'm
We have.
sure, come in already.
It's not reflected in here because this is May's, and we've received 2 tax payments already, and we're gonna receive another one June 29th.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
right now, as it stands, we've got 41% of taxes in, so that should reach probably close to 50% by the time the next one comes in. So we will probably be at 100%.
So not 50% of the current line item like you're currently seeing. Mary's talking about 50% of the taxes between June and September. September's in a separate fiscal year.
It crosses 2.
So, yeah, it's kind of crazy that way. So the 50% that she's saying should make us at 100% on the budget.
Right.
Thank you.
It won't put us in budget deficit. It's just, we're out of line on that line item.
Just curious.
It's funny that you bring that up because this was one I had texted Mary just to make sure I had my bearings right, because that's a big accounts payable. So I was going through and highlighting as well. So it's funny that you're bringing it up. When you look at the big line items, they are all but for, I believe, one related to special education and tuition and transportation. We have a big 225,000 to PSI, which
Right.
was HVAC substantial completion, right?
Right, it's actually a portion on phase 1 and a portion on phase 2.
Perfect. But everything else that you look at here is a reflection of really complex students' needs. For example, if you look at at Chaddock, which is 63980 at a cost of $25,000. That's one student. And then 63992 Exceptional Learners Collaborative is us paying for our portion of related services that we use through them. So another,
And for the tuition for that one student that you just mentioned, that doesn't include the transportation that goes with it.
well, that student is in a residential placement, so there is
Okay.
no transportation
Okay.
daily for that student, but there is costs accrued because a portion of the agreement is that we compensate the family to go visit at least once a month in terms of mileage and hotel. Now, we set the parameters around that and we reimburse. We don't pay obviously in advance for them. So, but that's significantly less than a daily transport, for example, for 63961 Alexander Lee. So that's 3 students, I believe. And then their transportation is provided, I believe, by Safeway. And then thank you, Mary, for the fast answer on that. 63978 Brex Solutions at 27,000 is also transport. So the long story short is the more we can keep kids on site to meet their needs, the better in every possible lens. So that is what we're working on. I'll have an update on that when we go through the personnel report.
Okay, so any other questions on the consent agenda? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve it as presented with total accounts payable in the amount of $1,034,524.55.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
We got a motion by Roger, a second by Danny. Please poll the board.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Galina?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady? Yes. Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Ms. Cradolo?
Yes.
Mr. Dabrowski?
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much. All right, Mary Taylor, what you got?
Okay, a couple of different items on our on facilities. We are doing all the summer work, which is mostly repairs, painting. We have carpeting done. We have the new bleachers installed. That happened last week. It has electronic component to it, so it's electronically goes in and out now. So we still
That's
have.
at Stanton?
That is a Stanton.
Coming up July 5th and 6th, all the Stanton bathrooms and locker rooms are going to be getting the epoxy flooring, which if you've been in any of those bathrooms or locker room lately, it's just awful. It's just so worn out and awful looking. So this will be a nice way to, spruce it up, and also it's a lot easier to clean. You can power wash it down instead of mopping and waxing.
It was also the most cost efficient way.
It really was, yes.
I would assume so.
Yeah. We got seal coating yet to go on. That'll be end of July. A lot of things are happening at the end of July. Our exterior painting is happening. New PA system and clocks are going to be, we don't have an exact date yet, but that's going to be towards the end of July as well. And cameras, we're still working with Active Alarm and Honeywell we're getting a discount, not for free, but it's about $8,500. We're going to be talking with him as far as placement of the cameras.
Really good.
Yeah. And so that's what's happening as far as summer work. It's a lot more than that, but those are the major projects. As far as PSI Phase 1 and Phase 2, Phase 1 is near the closeout. Bob Voss said it's probably going to be the end of June, and they're going to close out that first project, which is the HVAC, the air conditioning. They're waiting. They have to do a little bit more testing on the rooftop unit over the gym, and they're working on the controls, getting that up and going on the controls, and then they'll be complete with that project. Phase 2, which is the boilers and the coils here, they were here Monday doing water tests on the top of the gym, trying to figure out where that water was coming in. And they've got the boilers disconnected, mostly taken apart, and they're working on the piping. So that'll take about 2 weeks to get the piping done, but they said they'll probably be out of here by August 1st if everything goes well. So, and then we've had some inspections. Our West Side does our normal inspections for HVAC. They came out and did Lotus. No findings, nothing that has to be repaired. Went somewhere. Same thing with shingles, there is some shingle repair that needs to be done, about $1,080 worth. So we'll get that taken care of as well on this roof, where shingles have blown off.
Anything new on the shingle portion of the roof?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that, I'm like,
I did speak with.
We just got the report from
Yeah.
the shingle roof inspection. Yet again, it stresses the importance of the replacement ASAP. The shingle replacement is exactly what Mary's talking.
Exactly.
I was gonna bring that forward to facilities, the full report.
You mentioned earlier about water leakage from the boiler.
Not from a boiler.
What's it? It was-
It's from an air conditioning rooftop unit, air and heat.
Okay.
That's been happening for years. And nobody can seem to find where the water's coming in. It drips down into the gym. So every time we have a really hard rain,
Yeah,
we know we're gonna have a leak.
yeah.
So this is
Well,
part
it's
of
not only a really hard rain, it's a really hard rain with wind.
yes.
Because if it's just a downward rain, it doesn't necessarily happen, but if there's a wind combination with it, that's when you can count on a leak in a variety of spots.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if it's been going on for years, has anyone, looked into or requested testing them for mold in those areas that have been frequently wet, that are in between the walls or in the rooftop?
As far as
or-
I know, we have not. We're still trying to find the source.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, if it's going down walls and places where it's just sitting, especially if it's been going on for years.
Right.
I don't know if that's something that we
It would be-
should have tested.
What's happening is, that's a great question. It's a straight drop down. So there hasn't been leaked down a wall. It's open plane in the gym, straight down
Okay.
onto the surfaces.
Yeah. But
and it's not, and Danny and Ken will probably know better, but I assume because it's not continuously holding water, so it's only intermittent, and then it's draining out, that if it were continuously holding, I think that's when you have the mold issue more than
What do they
likely.
use for insulation on the ceiling? I don't know, I'm sure it's not.
I can't remember what's in there. Yeah, I don't think there is.
I was just thinking, I
don't
think it's
think
just
there is.
open
It's just
piping.
open.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something up there, but I'm, as far as insulation, will hold the air you see, but I'm sure it's also a solid product. It's not fatted insulation, for example, that would hold moisture
Right.
for a length of time and take a while to air out. I don't see a mold issue that
I
I can
hope not,
think
because
of.
I think
it's
it's
a
a good
very,
question.
very costly
However,
thing to, if you have it in the walls, especially in a school.
If it
with
had been going
ventilation
on
It's
system.
the dead center of the gym.
If it was
I've been up in the
It's
ceiling.
literally dead
ceiling,
center of
yeah.
the gym. They put a bucket there every time.
by this time you would see, on the ceiling, you would see something going on there. There's nothing really hidden, back there that I can think of.
Just ask.
No, and it's a fair question because 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we did have issues with, here, the insulation wrap on the pipes in the classrooms, and did do actually a huge insurance claim to get that resolved because it boiled, pun intended, down to a faulty install on the installation. So remember, there was like a Sunday where we weren't even sure if we were gonna be able to open on the Monday.
That's what I'm thinking.
so-
If they find it somewhere,
Yeah.
then you are closing the school, and you
Yeah.
have to shift your students, and it's
Right.
millions of dollars.
Right.
So we're gonna hope not for that, but I think it's a fair question.
Yeah, and we
Just
can
ask
check
them
with
about it.
PSI on that too.
Yep. What else did I wanna bring up here on facilities?
The security.
Yeah, I can do that. So let's connect the dots then. So those are facilities updates. Like I said, we received today the Lotus shingle roof report, which Danny and Ken, I will forward to you. The only thing I'm waiting for the facilities committee to get back together is the final report from Paul Tim, who did our facilities and safety, security study. I emailed him last week and said I would really appreciate having at least some high talking points before the report is received. So you guys have his high leverage recommendations in front of you. He highlighted 2, but with the board's permission, I'll just kind of zip through what he's saying. Please know that this is not the complete report. these are the more important recommendations from his perspective. And I'm not gonna go in order, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So, pursue installation of secure main entry vestibules at both schools. So the good news is that's already a part of our plan and has funds allocated to it. So now, I think it's good to know that he's affirming that and will give us recommendations for consideration in that design. Lotus visitor management practices are better than Stanton practices. Please standardize using Lotus's practices, which that's a slam dunk. Program emergency contact extensions such as main desk, PA access code, nurse's office into telephone speed dial locations. Ensure administrators, teachers, and staff are aware of PA access code and consider requiring them to periodically practice making announcements through a telephone. Ensure that every room has a telephone and a PA speaker. So let me just do a quick segue there. When Mary was talking about the PA and clocks, that was for Stanton. If you'll remember, those have been working off and on for a very long time, and we have pods that have, what is it, Mary? They can call out but can't hear in, I believe, which obviously is not what we want. So before we did a final approval on the bid that David and Mike worked on, we had Paul review the specs on the system, and he fully supported what we were going with in terms of Stanton's communications. We thought if we're doing it, let's just make sure he checks it out, and he had no concerns around the design. Stanton classrooms locked from the inside, Lotus classrooms locked from the outside. I love this, no cost option. Consider adopting a practice that requires classroom doors to be closed and locked at all times, which we do. Cost option, replace or retrofit Lotus locking mechanisms to those that can lock from the inside. I don't see a need for that because we do have a practice where the doors are locked and pulled closed. And the administrators and I go around and check those regularly. So that was a change put into place this year, which him pointing that out makes me feel really good about the practices that we put in place. Reinforced tempered glass at exterior doors with a laminate film. So this was one of the questions we had, was which glass gets reinforced. And so his recommendation, he kind of told Mary about it, and we have actually a couple corroborating pieces of work on your doors. One of my concerns was, the whole U shape of Lotus is glass and accessible. We now have multiple people saying, don't sweat that in terms of tempering that glass, focus on your doors because any purpose is going to come to the doors. So that informs planning moving forward. Now, what we could consider is like the wraps that we have on the Lotus doors. Those do nothing but decorate a little bit, but also you can't see in. You can see out. So, and when you're walking out, look out, because you can't really, unless you're up close, you can't tell. It just kind of looks like it's a little bit cloudy outside. Those are very reasonably priced.
Weren't we talking about getting some bids for that?
We were, but we didn't want
We
to
never
waste
did
any
it.
time
I
until we
gotcha.
understood the scope of what was going to be recommended.
Gotcha.
So with that in place, it informs us as to really both sites and what would be recommended going forward, which is significantly cheaper than the tempered glass around the facility. So that's a good thing as well. Improve standardized evacuation maps by marking primary evacuation routes with solid red lines, alternate evac routes with dotted red lines, designated severe weather locations and locations of emergency supplies such as AEDs. Ensure evacuation maps are posted in every room, including restrooms. So what we recently did was have Lotus match Stanton's map design, but now we're going to need to relook at everything just to see how close those maps match to this recommendation. Consider acquiring additional emergency supplies such as trauma kits, bullhorns, wind-up flashlights that could be stored in strategic areas. That's a great recommendation. And then his two highest leverage pieces for us to consider were teachers currently have 24/7 card access to the schools. To reduce the risk of medical incidents, and this has always been my concern, medical incidents occurring when assistance is not available, restrict teacher access. He suggests 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I think that's a little tight, particularly when I know some of our teachers like to come in and do a little work on the weekend, but my concern has always been, what if you're here by yourself? And nobody's here, whether for a medical condition or you leave your key. You leave your key and your phones, and it's just, so we'll have to talk from a leadership perspective on that. And then the second was there's a fixed panic button at the Lotus main desk. Stanton does not have one. Install a fixed panic button at the Stanton main desk, which is a low level. That won't cost a ton either. So those are kind of the big picture things, which I was pleased. I see no surprises on this list. And I'm actually very pleased that the recommendation isn't tempered glass everywhere.
Yeah.
So that leads us then, once we have the full report, we've got the Lotus roof status, which is one of the things facilities is prioritizing, and then safety security, which really is the other thing. We'll then be talking through other potential capital expenditures just to make some priorities, because Mary and I can make a list pretty deep. And then Mary says, wait a minute, we need to think about how much money we have. So that'll be what we'll be bringing forward to facilities just for input, but things are coming along.
Can I ask a question?
For
It's not really relative to facilities, but it's about the system that we use for checking visitors, the Raptor system. Well, I noticed that it screens for sex offenders. Do we have the option for it to screen for other violations like domestic violence or, orders of protection or any other sort of situations that might be a danger to our students? Is it, in addition to those that are on the registered sex offender list?
Let me first ask what does pop, because I
Yes.
believe that there are things bigger than sex offenders
Okay.
that do come through Raptor. So let me first ask,
Okay.
what is it
That
screening
was my
for?
question,
You
because
got it.
that was what I read in there, and I thought, well, maybe there are some other things,
Got it.
domestic
Yeah.
abuse,
Orders of protection.
orders of protection,
Now, yeah,
custody, or not, no, that wouldn't show up, but.
that wouldn't show up, but we
Okay.
typically have documents for that, and then we pop those into our student information system. But I will absolutely find out exactly what it's screening for and any
I wasn't
options.
sure when to bring that up.
No, it's a
We're not
great
gonna go
place.
through
Yep.
A manual or anything, so the student manual.
All right, anything else on facilities, finances, Mary, anything? Tentative budget will be presented July or August?
August.
Okay. Cool. All right, then I'm gonna call your attention to the updated personnel report. Now typically we do this as one package deal, but before we do that, wanna call attention to two specific resignations. One by Jillian Raycheck and the other by Sherry Teachin, that are part of the first packet that you received. You see that they are resigning, but if you continue to read on, you'll see that they both indicate that they're accepting a teaching case management position through the ELC, the Exceptional Learners Collaborative. So they are two of the teachers that we recommended forward in that new partnership that was launched. And so that's a reflection of them. A piece of what they had to do was resign from our entity to get hired on by the ELC, but they will continue to work here. So this is exactly as we designed it.
I have a question.
Mhm.
They call in sick, who's the sub? Did ELC provide a sub for you guys, or is that?
Yeah, ELC could provide a sub. If you remember, the board has already approved additional permanent subs. So it would most likely be filled by an internal sub, simply because of the complexity of the kids in the classrooms. We would want subs who know kids and staff. ELC could do that. In my vision of all this, it's gonna look like it's always looked for them to work here. They just get a little more support from the ELC, and it's financially to their benefit and to ours, as we ran those numbers last time, both in terms of per student cost, but also retaining really, really top-notch employees. So, great question though.
Will that transfer of those two teachers, will that remedy or bring back any of the students right now that are in a separate school, outside school? Will that enable them to come back to their home school here?
Probably one in that hiring, but remember, we still have 4 more hires to make.
Okay.
Once those are full, then will more than meet the goal that we set. And we're frantically interviewing. And what's been cool is exactly as I want it to look like. Both ELC and I look in our applicant portals. We find great applicants, we send them to each other, and we interview together. We were on today for 2. So it's a really great partnership. And I will also add that we could not find people to work with some of our most complex students during summer school, as I think I shared with you. So Erica Barraza, instructional coach, and Amanda Lorenz, who's our interventionist, stepped up and said that they would work with the students if we'd allow them to co-teach. And we do have a co-teach model at almost every grade level. And they're running a 3-week classroom instead of the 6-week classroom. And both have approached me about how challenging it is. And one of those teachers in particular came down and said, I completely understand now doing this work, the rationale for seeking some additional compensation for the role for the teachers in the classrooms. So I don't think anybody ever doubted it, but I think there's something different about doing it to actually see what the job is. So we will get there, and I'll keep you posted. So with that, it would be my recommendation that the board approve the personnel report in the updated format this evening.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Roger, second by Joe. Please pull the board.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Dabrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Ms. Cradilla?
Yes.
Mr. Galina?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay. Then you put all those pieces together and take a look at the color-coded grid. This is the June 16th update of the staffing plan for 23-24. Anything you see in green are District 114 positions still open. Anything you see in gray, just because we wanted to be super clear about what's what, gray positions are those hired by the ELC. So those would become part of our accounts payable rather than our payroll for 23-24. And then over in the transportation column, you can see that there's one route in yellow. That's a purchase route through Safeway. And then we have one open full-size bus route. But I believe we have a candidate for that, don't we? That is not yet finalized. So we discontinued, if you remember for 22-23, we had hired 2 routes, one through Safeway and one through Durham. And those were full-size bus routes, not special trans. So this is just our reg ed routes. Durham is a full year commitment. Safeway will allow us to sever the contract with 30 days notice. So we got rid of the Durham route because we didn't want to commit to it, because if we can fill our spot, then we don't need it anymore. So I just wanted to call that to the board's attention. Our special trans vehicles, you see we're fully staffed. We have a sub driver, we have a transportation aide, and then we have an open transportation aide position, but we also have a candidate for that. So transportation is coming together.
Wow. So, guys, at the last meeting, we talked about possibly transferring all of the transportation over to a hire company.
Correct.
So we are not gonna do that. We're gonna hire our own bus drivers and our own.
At least for this year, we are, for a couple reasons. Once, it's in our contract to do so, and the second is we're gonna be working on, just like anything, pricing out.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering
Yep.
if we've had the opportunity to price those things out.
We
yet, or
will.
we're looking for that's for this year. Okay,
Yep, that
thank
will
you.
be something that we look for in consideration for 24-25. So I don't need an approval on this. It's just kind of the lay of the land. And Liz and Joe, typically we give this to you attached to the personnel report each month, just so I think it's good to see the whole picture and who's in each role.
I like having little bus drivers.
Student having your own bus drivers, did you say that?
We can talk about it. Behind that then is the parent-student handbook for 23-24. we went through a policy last time that says we may review this as a board, so we are reviewing this as a board. This is posted on the website. It's also linked, I don't know if anybody has done registration for your kids with us. It's a link in the online portal for student registration that you must indicate you have read the parent-student handbook, which gets us ahead of a whole lot of issues that can happen, particularly related to discipline later when we've had it up and as part of the registration process. Speaking of, we have, I think, 130 students who have completed the registration process fully. We're gonna send out more nagging emails along with a reminder of that early bird benefit. We're doing registration prior to June 30th.
We'll make
So
Tara read this.
make Taryn read it? Okay. Don't tell her I made you do it.
Brother.
I will face the wrath of Taryn. So yeah, this is here for your reference. It's always available online too. But we go through it every year. The principals every year make adjustments to it up until last week. Stanton made a recommendation for revision, so there it is for you. And it is in compliance every year. Jeff also does a side-by-side check with the Illinois Principals Association. They have a model student handbook, and we run it side by side just to make sure that we're in compliance on that. So again, that doesn't require an approval, but there you go. I want to do a real quick summer school update. So we finished school on a Thursday. Everybody had Friday off, and then summer school started last Monday. So no rest for
Poor
people.
kids.
It is going extraordinarily well, very, very smoothly. We have just over a quarter of our student population participating in summer school. It's a 6-week program overall. Mondays through Thursdays, 8 to 11 at Lotus, 8:30 to 11:30 at Stanton, so we can turn the buses around. I think it's been I know it's been the smoothest start in my time here. It's great to have the availability to have Stanton students at Stanton. Typically, we haven't done that because it's been so hot. But now that Stanton's air conditioned, the Stanton kids didn't like coming back to Lotus because this is the little kids' school. So it's going really, really well. Our teachers are working hard. The kids are learning a lot. For our littles, we have a pre-K program and then a kinder jumpstart. So that's 2 different programs. And the goal is really to keep our littles learning and then to front load our pre-Ks turning kinder and make sure they have a jump start on the school year. So, and staff's doing an incredible job on that. We've had a ton of people step up. We couldn't find someone to lead learning in the classroom for kiddos who really struggle to regulate their behavior here. So we had a social worker step up and say she would work with the class as long as we provided a paraprofessional, which we did, and they are rocking and rolling. So great things happening for kids at summer school. So thanks to this board for allowing for that to happen, to Mary for squeezing, I think, the last penny out of the ESSER dollars, those federal COVID dollars to move us forward. So it's an awesome thing.
Is there aside from the website, is there usually included in the handbook, like the whole year, a calendar of events, like when the vacations are, holidays?
It's on the website.
We don't put a page in the handbook?
Because it changes. There's always updates to it. So when there's an update, I send that out. And typically that, if it was a substantive update, it would have to go through board approval. All right. Anything you want to know about summer school? It's going great. And keep in mind, all the kids that are coming are also then guaranteed cool, they're guaranteed care, they're guaranteed play, they're guaranteed breakfast, and they're guaranteed lunch. Which for a lot of kids and families, that makes a big, big difference.
So all the students who come for summer school qualify for the breakfast and lunch?
Every student in our system gets free breakfast and lunch all year long in summer.
Okay, in summer.
Yep.
I wasn't sure about that when I read it, if it's only those who qualify for the program?
That's a great question.
Everybody.
For a long time, it was those who qualify, and then we got to a level who qualify that was high enough for us to make the case to get everybody.
We'll be able to swing summer school next year financially.
Probably not the salaries we're able to pay now. So,
That's going the wrong way.
but we've also built a co-teach structure, so we could also look at single teacher classrooms.
Are there any grants out there, or anything like that, or?
You can use part of the grants for that, like Title I, your idea grants, you can use.
But that would be reallocating money
Money
we're
we're
already
already
getting.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
right,
I know.
so that's not,
Yes.
okay.
Just thinking ahead
It's
for
not
next
your
year.
money. Yeah, it's not-
How do we
Tuition?
continue to do it?
Or a single teacher and 2 paras, something like that. Another paraprofessional and 1 teacher rather than 2 teachers co-teach.
Yeah, the issue with that was we had a difficult time finding paraprofessionals because that pay split is pretty significant. I think we could, I don't know, Mary, you would have to correct me on this. We would be much more viable to continue the scale of summer school if we went to single teachers in the classroom, because we would basically cut the staffing need in half. The question would be, there's so much of summer school that is really purposefully designed to split into small groups for targeted instruction, that I wonder at what cost does that come? But I think we could get creative with it.
Parent volunteers for summer school?
Well, maybe.
I don't know.
As assistants in the classroom.
NGHS, like, I don't know if they 18 and older, but NGHS, like, volunteers for service hours.
Oh, from Grant?
That's good. High school kids, college kids who are in learning programs, teaching programs, early childhood. Internships, we call those.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would definitely, I think we've got, I know we've got the recipe for it down now. For what the day looks like, how the time is allocated, because it works. We got, if you remember, and I know Joe and Liz, you weren't here, but when we did a report in the fall, we know that it made a difference. The kids who participated in summer school, if you remember, held their MAP growth much steadier from spring to fall than those who did not participate. So,
Seems like it's been successful, and I don't wanna let it slide. I just also don't know how to fund it. So.
A long time ago, we did look at charging tuition, and I was surprised, I think, on how many parents said, yeah, we're fine paying tuition. That was a while ago,
Yeah.
so I don't, could be different today though.
you know what, let me reach out. Mike Carner at the ROE always seems to have money. Let me see if he's got any
Can you give me
leads
his
on that.
I could use some money.
All right, cool. Next on the agenda is bringing back the proposed meeting dates for 23-24. There's a little snafu on the setup last time, so we wanted to bring those back. Oh, thanks, Mary, that tentative budget is on here. So you see some of the big events that the tentative budget is in August. The budget then is posted for public review with the budget hearing in September. Similarly, the tax levy is presented in November, put on public review, and then the hearing for the tax levy is in December.
I think for the most part it is the third Tuesday.
For the most part, there are a
Except for
couple.
that November 14th, I think.
Right.
It was only the one that was a week early.
Yeah. I tried to stick with it. I think there was an issue, with the AAA conference, the third.
That 14th is the Tuesday before we go down
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so if there are no issues, I need everybody to put these in their calendars, please. But we need board approval, and that can be an all in favor.
Looking for a motion to approve the meeting dates.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Dan, second by Ken. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Joint annual conference update. Christy, what do you want to tell us?
Anybody sign up?
You're staying at the hotel you want to stay at.
What's that?
The embassy suites. You guys go nuts if we don't get the embassy suites.
Nice.
Not the embassy suites.
We were at Hyatt.
I can't even remember.
This is only the free breakfast, right?
We haven't been able to get the embassy suites for the last,
We were at,
since before COVID, I think.
Yeah, before COVID, I think. That was before
I
Yeah.
don't know which one the
No,
embassy
not
suites. I'm
high.
sure I walked through it.
You walk by it.
Walk by it.
Yeah.
No.
So Christy was like a teenager trying to get Rolling Stone tickets in 1990, watching that joint annual conference portal open. She was amazing. You had to have gotten the first locker room with the embassy suites.
I kept getting kicked out. I'm like, it's crazy. So
It's a lot of pressure.
it worked.
So we're in.
All
We're
right.
in.
It's a little walk to some of the classes, but the other benefits of staying there are well worth it.
So we can write before Thanksgiving. So yay, Christy.
Thank you.
Someone got the tunnel, like,
We did, not from embassy
No, not from
suites,
embassy
no.
suites.
And so those classes, if you want to do a pre-conference class, those fill up quick.
Yeah,
So you should talk to Christy ASAP on that, any pre-conference classes.
are they posted?
Yeah.
Okay. What should we sign up for?
Leadership thing.
Okay.
Trying to become a leader.
God, please. I don't have much time left. I need to get there.
I don't have that much time left.
All right, so that's that update. We got some policies to take a peek at. I will tell you that with these policies, we close out the October 22 press bulletin. The good news is the March 23 bulletin was all about Faith's Law, which is background checks for employees, and we've already put all those practices in place. So that is a win, which will bring us up to the June 2023 press packet at our next meeting, and it is only this. So there's a chance we might be able to just look at our own policies pretty soon, instead of having to be in a constant state of update, which makes my geeky superintendent heart very happy. All right, so let's take a peek at these. Policy 7250 requires districts, I'm putting the complete footnote up top so you know exactly what the change is recommended by press. But in the simplest form, districts are now required to appoint a liaison to the Department of Child and Family Services, and that is me. And I'll get to the why in that in just a second, but you have to have a point of contact to anything related to DCFS. We've just had way too many complex situations that I want to be the person that's navigating those things.
Did you say 7/2/15?
Yeah,
Chapter 7.
7/250.
This wasn't about the nurse though. This isn't about a representative, so
And
that's
that's,
the right one.
that's the right one.
Okay.
So that would have been the language that was already in policy.
Oh, okay.
So what's up in red at the top reflects changes
I
to
gotcha.
policy. So we're in good shape with the nurses. 7285 is the policy behind that. We are in and have been in excellent shape with this one. This is anaphylaxis prevention, response, and management. We have policy. We have followed the model policy. We have EpiPens ready to use. We get those restocked annually. So we have been for a very long time in compliance with 7285. 7290. If you remember, we've had several policies that have been changed for the renaming the Children's Mental Health Act, which I think is an important change in the language to make it about mental health, rather than anything that sounds like it's from a deficit perspective. But this deals with Anne Marie's Law, suicide, depression, awareness, and prevention. And so what Matt pointed out to me in this one is this policy is required to be on the website, which it is. It's posted in with all of our policies electronically. We do have the tip line on the website if anybody needs any help whatsoever. Where it is not is in the handbook itself, and that is a requirement of policy. So thank you for looking at that. We will do a handbook revision to make sure. I'm not going to put the policy in there. Rather, I'm going to put here's how a student can access help. in the handbook as well, so it's in another spot, which will put us fully in compliance with 7290. The other thing I call to the board's attention is you are going to, did Panorama go through on this one? I think that's an after July 1, isn't it?
It is.
So for social emotional learning purposes, you know that we benchmark and collect data on kids on not just their academics, but how they're feeling from a social emotional perspective. And so we've messed around with several different resources for that over time. The most recent assessment tool we've used is called the Sabers, which has done a fine job, but it's just kind of a drop in the bucket and you can't really manipulate the data very well. It just tells you how kids are reporting, how staff is reporting. Our mental health team did a ton of collaboration and research. And if you remember, several of them were new last year and have experience with Panorama, which is a different tool. Do you guys use Panorama? I see you nodding, yeah. They've had great experience with it. We've done several calls with them and actually are going to be switching from Sabers to Panorama. So we'll have to figure out how to kind of extrapolate data from apples to oranges to be able to continue to tell the story. But what we love about it is rather than Sabers it was a one size fits all survey, we can actually have some questions that are given to everyone if we want, but then some that we ask of K2 students, but then different for 3, 4 and different for 5, which are different than, can be different than 6, 7, and can be different than 8. Because when you think about all those learners, there's different things in life that they're going through. Like I'm particularly interested in 5th graders as they transition from Lotus to Stanton. Like, how you doing? That's a big jump for kids. How you doing? And it allows us to do that, which nothing else ever did. It also pulls from, which our technology guys were going back bonkers on, and rightly so. It links into our student information system, not to dump into it, but to be able to align student data so we can sort by gender, we can sort by ethnicity, we can sort by single parent homes, we can sort by first language spoken in the home to look at trends and patterns for some of our kids, which helps us better answer the question of how our kids doing rather than, well, at 4th grade, they're fine, which doesn't really tell us anything. And then on top of that, what it does is for our most at-risk kids, again, the prior system would just code them red. This allows us to create like groups based on like reporting patterns. So you can have kids who are feeling internalized anxiety. They report it. You might not ever see it. That might be a student that always looks like they've got it together, but inside they're bubbling, which matters to me personally because that's my oldest daughter. Like that's her. And it will not only identify, hey, these are kids who could benefit from support because they have a like area that they're working on. And oh, by the way, here are tier 3 ways to support them from a research base within the program. And you can then progress monitor inside it. So it'll just give our mental health team so much more in their arsenal to help kids. And then obviously help us be better informed at tiers 1 and 2 about who the kids are. So I don't know, Jen, did I do a decent job explaining? Anything you would add to that?
I know, like, I was just introduced to it. The social workers, guidance counselors were using it as a case manager. It was very helpful. And there's a part where you can type in anecdotal notes that are, so everyone can see what's going on with the student. Like if something happens at home or a student reports something, it's in the system so teachers can see like this is going on. So everyone has access to that information.
Good.
Without sending anything else.
Yep, because then it becomes a student record.
Right.
If it's in the program, yeah. Ooh, I didn't know that. See? Awesome. We might need to talk to you. So that's just another way to get at 7290 and really be more savvy about our students, but be better than just who are they, but knowing better what support for them can look like. So that's a great thing, particularly when we look at the world as a whole reports more depression, more anxiety as a result of everything that's happened in the recent past. So the more we can be supporting our kids, the better. 7340 is about student records. And this was one of the driving forces behind me saying that I want to be the DCFS liaison. because it gives DCFS certain rights to access student records of kids in DCFS custody. So that starts to get real messy. So I want one person, hands in this pot, and that one person is gonna be me. Because I wanna be able to absolutely and always work with DCFS, but also say no if I feel like their ask is inappropriate, and that has happened this year. So again, everybody's trying to help, but nope, you're not gonna get access to that record. That is not part of what you need to be seeing right now. So those are the new policies. Any questions on those?
Is it upset that you said no?
Yes.
Good.
Just in this last policy, on page 4 of 6, it talks about student biometric information collection. I mean, I know it's kind of a default that's in there.
Yeah.
We're probably not
We
looking
would
at
yank that.
anything like that anytime soon. It's
No.
in our prior, but I don't know. Do we
That's
want to
not
yank it?
on my
or-
radar.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're not doing it, I don't,
and I mean, yes, it's not even, like you said, in the near future. I don't know.
I don't need to collect biometrics.
And yeah, the footnote says this program is optional.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll delete
Yep.
that paragraph, or, yeah, a few paragraphs that relate to that section.
So that means that would be a strike through of page 4 of 6, student biometric, everything under that, and then all of page 5.
Yes.
All right. Chrissy, can you make a note of that? Okay. All right, so that's first reads. Second reads are 710, which is equal educational opportunities. This one comes up for review all the time because anytime anything changes in bullying and harassment and discipline and anything, 710 will change. 720 is harassment, which is also frequently changed as a result of anything to do with bullying policy. 750.
Oh, real quick on,
Yep.
on 750.
Yep.
Just at the top of that, we can approve it with just everybody mark on theirs. Right after the word age, elementary or unit districts only, that's in italics, that should be removed. So that's at the very top, Christie.
Could you repeat that, please? Where to find this? In this?
So this is 750. So the new policies.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Page 1 of 2.
Yes.
Got it.
And we were at chapter 7, policy 50. Right at the second line has age, and then in parentheses, elementary or unit districts only, in italics. Just delete that italics, that's all. And that's all was on our existing. It was deleted. So that's just a side note.
There's no. And then, thank you for that, 7100, health, eye, and dental examinations. There's
And then-
12s, right?
Yeah, so on this one, the only little update is
On page 1 of 3.
on page 1 of 3, the first bullet points, the second bullet point, we're gonna strike and 9th grades.
And the reason for this, just for everybody, is to make this match exactly who comes to our schools. So we get policy recommendations that, like the last one, for elementary or unit districts, for high school districts, all under one, and then you take the pieces that you want. So this one is entering 6th and 9th grade, which is accurate, but we don't have 9th graders, so let's get rid of that language.
And then the sentence right below those 3 bullet points, proof of immunization against meningococcal disease is required for students in grades 6 and 12, so we'll strike
Yep.
and 12.
Were there others?
And that was it.
Okay,
So no substantive change, just kind of a couple little tweaks.
all right. And we are, I should have said this before, we're in compliance already with all of these policies. 7180 is the bullying policy. This one is updated a lot. Last year, our bullying policy, our bullying prevention plan which is our implementation guide of this policy, had to be submitted to the state for review. So now it's every other year. So 23, 24, it will not be reviewed, and then we'll bring it back up again. 7190 is student behavior. Which this one is updated frequently as well, with changes in the law and court cases that hinge on discipline and behavior. I will tell you though, where's my data on that? I had Michelle Burgess pull discipline data from Stanton, and we had, I believe it's 23% fewer office discipline referrals in 22-23 than we've had in any of the prior years that I've been here. 23% fewer. We had the fewest number of suspensions ever, the fewest number of long-term suspensions. So 22-23 was an extraordinary year, discipline-wise at Stanton. We also had at Lotus the highest number of positive office referrals ever.
Kind of remembering one of those is backwards or upside down.
And then I believe, I'm not gonna get the percentage right, but I can find it for you. The highest number of PBIS points given at Stanton since PBIS was launched. So those are all things you wanna see happening, is those punitive consequences going down and the affirmatives going up. We also had a tremendous number of students, I'll get the count for you, involved in co-curriculars and clubs and activities. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. So I'd be looking for.
There were a lot of kids at graduation that were recognized.
Right? Yeah. I'd be looking for approval on the second reading policies as indicated on your agenda, the 7.
Chapter 7, policies 10, 20, 50, 100, 180, and 190.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Roger,
Second.
second by Ken.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes.
All right. Discussion items. What do we got here? Oh, board professional development. So 2 things are out there. We talked about doing the IASB starting out session. Because I think it's a good one to bring a newer board together in terms of how we operate, and we've had a lot of turnover in the last couple of years since we did this session. So I have dates that Laura Martinez is available if we'd like her to do it. Those are all starting in September. I didn't know if we wanted to aim for this during the summer or once school started again. If we want to do it in the summer, then Laura Martinez, who is our IASB rep, couldn't do it. I'm kind of okay with that because there are things that she's really good at training, but she can be a little bit dry. In my opinion, I don't know if it works as well.
Is this something that we as a board?
Yep. So it's a closed session training where we basically, there's an agenda that we work through to say, okay, what are our operating norms for each other? How do we handle it when a parent approaches? What are we aspiring to as a board for the district? I think it's a really good session. Like, what do you expect from me? What do I expect from you?
And by doing these, so I've been getting emails about board recognition.
Board recognition is also
And
due.
we're actually up,
Yep.
let's sign up for that. That's every other year. This is a step towards getting that board recognition.
Yep.
Which we receive quite a few times. You can only do it every other year, and I think our district has received it we're top 10 out of the whole state out of 855 schools. So something we want to keep doing. This is part of that. So
How do we go around picking the
Summer
dates?
better?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, summer.
It depends, I guess, if you want to have it completed by the time the school year starts. Or to get it
I
closely
know
in
people's schedules are
September, or
bonkers
just-
in the summer.
Pardon me? It's
I know.
scheduled, oh, yeah, vacations.
So I
I'm
guess
open
we
to
ought to
either.
try throwing out some dates and see if the summer works.
Okay,
I usually
Based on
just
their
work around
schedule,
whatever
maybe?
dates kind of work best for you guys.
okay.
I try not to get too picky with them.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Then the other thing is getting you all up to speed on the online board packet.
Yay.
The online. Okay.
Board packet.
Oh,
So
board packet.
Christy has done an extraordinary job of figuring out how to not kill 1,000 trees. And getting the board packet all online. So our principals have been using it. She and Mary have been using it. I have not, because I still use my paper copy. So if you're freaking out right now, I feel your pain. We can still print it out to anybody that wants it. But if you're ready to make the leap to electronic, or at least see how it works, that would be,
The one we just bring our laptop.
we would have one for you.
Oh,
We'd make sure you had a Chromebook, because
So
then
it would
it's
just
on our
be-
system. You have it pulled up.
it's essentially almost it's like a PDF that you're scrolling.
It is.
The only problem is I can't.
I know.
Yeah, I think you can make notes on
You
it,
can make notes on it.
your own notes.
Only for you, or if you want to share them with the whole board or someone else.
But everyone except for Matt.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go. You can choose.
Yeah, I mean, next
Christie's.
month, yeah.
How long is that training? They'll do it virtually, right?
Yeah, or there are videos that you can do. So even if you do a virtual session, if you want to go back individually and wait, I don't understand how this works or whatever, there's videos, there's online, there's everything you can imagine. They make it very easy. I think they set it up as a 30-minute starting session.
And that we can do individually in our own.
There are
schedule
videos
or
you can
times?
do on your own, but if you want to make it a live or a Zoom session, we can, for everyone, we can do that.
I'd rather do it on my own. It'll be 12 o'clock at night when I'm doing it.
That's fine. And I'm fine saying that, what if we say by the September meeting, everybody has at least trained, and then you can make an informed decision. And then we'll say you're not getting a hard copy packet unless you ask for it.
I'll do it after you do it.
Deal. Okay, deal. Let's do it together. We'll do it together. Okay.
And so we can't access this right now on our own personal computers, is that what you're
You
saying?
can, as soon as I
Oh, is
turn it
okay.
live for you. You'll get an invitation from me, from the platform, and then,
So we don't need to use your Chromebooks, we can use our.
no, you can look at it at home.
Yeah.
You can actually get an app on your phone if you want, and look at it that way.
The only reason I was saying Chromebooks here is then you don't have to worry about jumping on the network.
I gotcha.
That'd be set up for you.
Yeah, you can send me the link. I will go.
So let's send everybody the link,
Okay.
the invite, and then could you also send the quickest route for them to get the startup video?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
There's also documentation, so I'll send you the first couple, just about logging in, changing your password, all those
More
basic things.
passwords.
I know.
You can save it.
It'll save.
I don't like doing that though.
I know. I care.
Neither can I. I've got notes everywhere.
All right, so that will come, and our commitment is September. All
I
right,
want to do it next month.
hear it?
You'll
You can do it
you'll-
next month if you want to.
You'll remind us, I'm sure you'll remind us.
Work out the
I will
bugs.
remind all of us, because this is,
I'll send it to all of you tomorrow, and then
is DeVos on it? She's got it too, doesn't
she
she?
does have it, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got it.
Are you using?
Yeah, actually, it was really nice tonight taking the meeting from home because I have all the notes pulled up in one tab and I can watch in the other. So it's actually been kind of nice.
An astronaut.
Oh, yeah. And I'm a paper person, so it did take some getting used to, but
Agenda on one side of your window, and then the document that goes with it in the other window, so you can see them side by
Very
side.
cool.
I'll still need this on paper.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
This is a lot less though than
Yeah.
this. All right, and like for the walk-ons, all we have to do is just swap out the document. You don't have to reprint, right?
Right.
So it's a great thing. Chrissy's worked really, really
It'd still
hard
be
to get it
nice
set up
have
and
the
going.
agenda printed when we get here. I think that'd be the only thing that'd be
The
good.
agenda,
I think so. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know.
that's fine.
The split screen thing, if you sit here going with this,
Yeah.
get a little too close. Well, doesn't matter.
The agenda, you can still write notes on.
All right, then FOIA.
Yeah, we got an interesting FOIA request from Ferry State Wire, which is just a reporter asking for any contracts or payment records for vendors who provide DEI services. So talking to Heather and Mary, the only vendor we had was I think, if I went with Branch High School and went in with them on something, but you know, we just never paid for it, so we didn't have.
What are DEI services?
Yeah, that's my question. I was asking.
Equity
Diversity, equity.
Oh,
And inclusion,
and
yeah.
inclusion.
yeah.
So we didn't have any direct contracts to anybody. We did participate for 1 year in Deep Equity sponsored by Corwin. We did not do the second year, nor did any of the partner districts. You know that?
I heard.
And it ends up, because Grant paid for it, and then Grant never invoiced us. So,
Oh, that's a bonus.
so,
We didn't have it.
so we had nothing, right? There was no response. All right. Other business of notes, the July board meeting is noted on here, dates of the joint conference, and then we do need to go into closed session for just a hot second.
And then another business too, again, look at those pre-conference
Thank you.
workshops, because those fill up fast. Get the Christie ASAP. You should have received an email or two on those.
And I probably should send you all an email and just have you confirm which dates you will be attending or will not be attending, so we can update the hotel rooms and stuff. So if we get past a certain date, we can't get our money back.
Yeah, let's do that.
Like what I did last year, I came in on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year we were at the share thing, I remember.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, we were, because I remember walking up that hill.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get 2 emails from Christy, one about the, about onboard, which is the electronic board packet. The second one will be about the joint conference for you to confirm pre-conference and then the dates that you'll be attending. Awesome. Thanks, Christy. All right.
Okay, with that, I'd be looking for a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing confidential employee matters.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Danny,
Second.
second by Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion passes at 8:25.
All right. Thanks, Devos.
Good night, you guys.
Yeah. No, stretch my knees. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's good stuff.